This is the final session in a series of 10 modules all about social enterprise. This module is looking at finance and funding for social enterprise. The aim of this module is to support the learner in understanding the importance of appropriate funding and finance in social enterprise, and to facilitate exploration of the learner's immediate and wider work context in order to promote professional development. By the end of this session, the learner will be able to understand why funding and finance is important, to comprehend potential sources of funding for social enterprise, and to contemplate full cost recovery. Why is funding and finance important? All businesses need finance or funding at some point in their development. This may be to start up, it may be to continue in business, or it may be to enable the enterprise to grow. Lack of sufficient finance is a common problem for social enterprise, and start-up funding is always required. A social enterprise, just like any other business, will endeavour to become financially independent. Balancing the figures. When starting up a social enterprise, it is rare to be able to achieve it without some sort of finance. This may in some cases be a large sum of money, possibly for the purchase of equipment, rent, building purchase, marketing such as leaflet production and websites, recruitment, salaries and other expenses. Once the social enterprise is up and running, it will also need to have its operational costs met. It may be some time before income is generated and any profit achieved, so some way of financing the setup of the organisation needs to be identified. Deciding on your funding needs. There are many reasons why you may need funding. Before considering where you will look for sources of funding, it is essential that you plan as carefully and precisely as possible in order to be able to answer questions put to you by potential funders. You will need to be able to answer why you need finance. Is it to buy property, to deal with a cash flow problem, or to cover start-up costs? How much funding do you need? Answering this will help determine where your funding may need to come from. Are there different ways to secure the funding that you need? Would it be possible to lease equipment, to use subcontractors, to rent premises rather than to buy? When do you need your funding? Does funding need to be in place up front, or can development be phased to stop the initial outlay? And can you get the funding that you need? Does your legal structure or your governing documents prevent you from accessing certain types of funding? Where might funding come from? Grants are usually made to organisations and not to individuals, following completion of a comprehensive application form. Grant funders will want to see established policy and procedure in place, as ensuring rigorous monitoring and attention to detail from management. Social enterprise are meant to aspire to financial sustainability, and it is important to avoid becoming reliant on a single source of funding. Loan finance is only appropriate where there is a good chance that your social enterprise will be able to pay back the loan. As well as making loan repayments, your organisation will have to pay interest charges too. Both you and the lender will need to be convinced that you can not only generate enough income from trading to meet the running costs and to repay the loan and interest. Some social enterprises may be precluded from taking out loans by their governing documents. Loan finance is available from all well-known high street banks, but there are now a number of social lenders who have a better understanding of social enterprise. There are also some specialist social investors who may be able to provide advice and support. The membership model identified on the slide is not widely used by social enterprise as a means of generating income, since many enterprises wish to keep their membership accessible to everyone and keep any membership fees that are charged to the members at a low cost. If you wish to pursue this model, it is essential to test the idea with the membership to determine what the market will support. Full cost recovery. Social enterprises trade for a social purpose, but they also need to generate income in order to run a sustainable business. If insufficient income is generated, it will become impossible to sustain the enterprise financially, and as such, the social impact will not be delivered. It is down to each social enterprise to determine how much income they need to generate. In an ideal world, they should aim to generate a surplus that can be reinvested into furthering the social aims, but as a minimum, the aim should be to cover all costs of providing the products or services. This is defined as full cost recovery. Full cost recovery is a practice used not only to recover the entire cost of a service, product or project, but also a proportion of the costs that are not only directly related to the delivery, but that are essential to run the social enterprise. The intention is to avoid deficit or financial loss arising as a result of running a project or offering a service or product. The importance of full cost recovery. If the full cost of running a service or project is not recovered or even calculated, the social enterprise will have to find a way of generating income to make up for the deficit. If unable to recover the core costs, a social enterprise remains financially unsustainable and as a result may end up ceasing to trade. Understanding your costs. The diagram on this slide demonstrates the activities of a fairly typical social enterprise that runs a number of projects and offers services and products to customers. The core cost element in the centre of the diagram represents the costs of running the enterprise, such as management costs, admin costs, IT and HR functions, and the costs of utilities and premises. The core costs will be used to support the different elements of the different projects and services at different times. Management support will be needed throughout the lifetime of the project, but IT support may only be needed at the outset. Both IT and management support will be needed for the general running of the organisation. For this reason, it can be difficult to attribute the core cost of running an enterprise to a specific project activity. By calculating the full cost of each activity or service that the enterprise undertakes, it will be possible to have a better understanding of the true costs so that it can be recovered fully. Additionally, calculating costs accurately will allow for advanced planning and the ability to make informed decisions about managing costs, securing the right amount of funding, and charging the right price to cover outgoings. Historically, enterprises with an understanding of full cost recovery have used arbitrary methods to allocate costs to a project by allocating a fixed percentage of the total core cost to each project. However, this does not reflect true costs accurately and can lead to enterprises struggling financially as a result of not allocating enough money to cover their costs. Identifying costs. Full cost recovery can be applied to all social enterprises, regardless of how they generate income, and are fundamental to helping ensure a sustainable business. It is important to understand and capture all of your costs. This needs to include hidden costs such as national insurance contributions, pension contributions, and travel expenses. Current costs must be regularly analysed and recalculated to take into account external changes, such as the price of fuel. A good financial system, processes and procedures, and staff who are able to manage it will be invaluable for ensuring that your costs are fully understood. Differentiating costs. Costs can be split into two categories: direct costs, those specific to an activity, service or project, and core costs, those related to running your enterprise that are not included in direct costs. Remember that care needs to be taken when allocating costs between different projects and services. Whether they are direct or core costs may often depend on the nature of the initiative that you are looking at. It is also important to bear in mind costs such as price inflation, future recruitment, pay rises, and the purchase of equipment. As an activity, identify direct and indirect costs for your enterprise.